Léa Stréliski is a familiar voice on this program. You hear from time to time on The Big Five, and she joins us on this Bell Let's Talk Day to talk a bit about mental health and, more importantly, why it's important to reach out for help when you need it. And I think in her case, it may have saved her life. Léa Stréliski on the line. Léa, first off, thank you for coming on the show. I read your column in L'Actualité, and I just want to read a part of the beginning to our listeners. I'm going to do the translation in English. Tell me if I nailed the translation and correct me if I'm wrong. But this is right near the top of your column in L'Actualité. You write, I don't know if I was close to dying, but I was close to not wanting to live. I was close to no longer knowing how to live, as you describe this summer for you. Léa, tell us about this summer and what you went through.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it in French or in English. I'm sure that a lot of people may have felt this way this year. I have panic attacks. I've had them for 10 years. And just like a lot of things that this pandemic made worse, it made my panic attacks a lot worse. And eventually it was just unbearable. I used to get them twice or three times a day. I was starting to plan my entire life around that problem. The anxiety was just too much. I think that it all started at the beginning of the pandemic, just losing the schools. I have three children who are all in primary school. Not just the uncertainty, the shock of it all, because I never thought I'd have to raise my children in a situation like that. And I think that a lot of parents can relate that once you have children, you feel vulnerable. You feel stronger because you now kind of have a purpose to live, but you feel fragile because you know that if anything happens to them, your life will definitely get a lot harder. And so it's just the stress of it all, having my three children inside, having the government tell us 2 times that schools were going to reopen, and finally they just didn't. In Montreal, they just didn't reopen. Mm-hmm. All of that was just a lot, and trying to work through it all. And so eventually the panic attacks just got too much, and I got to a point where my mental health was so bad that I just did not know how to go on.
And, you mentioned you're a mother of 3, right? So, yeah. There's that responsibility. And, as you write in L'Actualité, you end up in a dark place, even when it comes to you wanting to raise your children, right? I mean, that must have been just an incredible amount of stress and strife.
Well, yeah, because I think that, we always want to be the grown-ups, obviously, and we don't always act like it. It's hard to act like a grown-up every day, but you definitely have that responsibility. And you have that fear because as a mother, you just want to go on. You just have to go on. So I remember the doctor for another situation telling me, you just need to rest. And that's what every mother fears, is the doctor saying, you need to rest, because there's no such thing as resting. There's no such thing as resting when you have kids asking for things that they need, and when there's just supper to be made and just laundry, and then there was homeschooling, and there's no such thing as resting. It just doesn't happen. And we didn't have access to our parents, so the help we used to have, we didn't have anymore. So it was just our cul-de-sac. There was just no help out there. And eventually it became too much, and it's just that responsibility and that fear of not being able to take care of your kids. And my husband worked in a hospital, so we also had the fear of the virus like everyone else did, but that was another stress. He couldn't work from home because he worked in a hospital, and he was needed. So eventually he had to stop working because my mental health was just out of control. And eventually we went to my parents because I needed help.
Yeah, and so I want to get to that help and what help you got. We're with Léa Stréliski, a comedian, columnist for L'Actualité. You hear on the Big Five regularly on this program. Now, Léa, let's point this out. When I said your title, comedian. A lot of people, they reach out to you to put them in, good spirits. I look at you on Twitter, how often do I play off of your jokes? Earlier this week, you had this wonderful tweet about the Canadiens game, right? And it being a house of worship. You're a resource to me, and you're supposed to be happy, funny comedian, I imagine. Did that add another layer of complexity to this?
Well, a lot of people have reached out to me to say that, and I'm glad people read my jokes and it makes a bit of a highlight in their days. But you guys have to understand that I make the jokes for myself, okay?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love making jokes. I love making jokes the way some people love to cook. You love to cook. You cook because you love it. And then if somebody loves what you're cooking and thinks that it tastes great, you're just happier. But you love to cook. So it's not a burden to make people laugh. I do it because I enjoy it and because it's part of who I am, and I do it for myself. So I know I don't see it as, oh my God, people are now going to see that I'm sad or that I'm serious, or I really don't care about that. I'm a human being. I know that underneath it all, we're all this fragile little being who doesn't always know what they're doing, who most time doesn't know what he's doing, and so it doesn't scare me to come out as less funny, or I think it makes me just human.
But did you ever feel that people wouldn't believe that you were having that you were having a tough time because you're a comedian? What do you mean? You got to be happy. What do you mean you're depressed? Did that ever enter your mind?
No, because if you read my column and then you think that I'm faking, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
I am not.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it goes to show that you never know what people are going through. Anybody can go through a tough time. I think it's part of being alive, is part of being human, and that's also what I wanted to do with my column, is that I want people, if you're going through a hard time right now, I want you to feel normal. There is nothing wrong with you. You just need help. You just need help. And I think that it's about time we start talking about mental health the way we talk about physical health. I mean, if you have a headache, or if your leg is broken, or if you have some sort of a disease, we're going to take care of you and no one's going to blame you for it. So I think that mental health has to be treated that way. And I came to that point where I needed medical help. I needed drugs. I needed science. And we're always saying, believe in science. Well, believe in science when it comes to pills also. They help.
Let's talk about that help, because that's another thing, right? Some people, they're like, well, okay, maybe I'll talk to someone. But then when it comes to medication, they're like, oh, no, not for me. This helped you.
Yeah, well, for a long time I was that too. I've had a shrink for years. I love it. I love talking, so I love being in therapy, and that was one thing. But then there came a point where I needed a psychiatrist. I needed to treat the panic attacks. It wasn't just like, let's go back to your childhood. It was more like, there's something in your brain that's not working. So these are two different things, and they help. Both help, and also, I think that there's the pills, and there's also the fact that we all kind of lost meaning in our life at some point during this pandemic. If you lost your job, if you had activities you did that were giving you a meaning in life, I mean, we all lost things, and there just came a point where I was like, why do I get up, And I think that's what's been so hard. And then when it comes to pills, I needed to fix something in my brain, and it has helped a lot. I was afraid, though. I was afraid to take a pill a day is a bit weird, even if I guess when you get older, that's just what your life is.
But if you've never done it before, it's like, oh boy, right? If you've never taken that pill every day.
Exactly. I got to the point where I would have done anything to make the panic attacks go away. It was really making my life hell. So I got to that point, and my mom had been telling me, you need medication, and I wasn't listening to her because that's what daughters do with their mothers. Mm-hmm. But it took a while before I was like, yeah, no, I can't go on like this. I just can't.
Léa, your story in L'Actualité, your column in L'Actualité, hit me right in the feels. It's a must read. I'll make sure I tweet it out. Of course, if you go to my Twitter, I'll tweet out Léa's profile as well, so you can read it. Léa, you are a gem, you are a jewel, and you're a welcome contributor on this program. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Léa Stréliski, comedian, columnist for L'Actualité.